Commander Jack Reynolds was having what could only be described as the worst day in the history of bad days. It started when his ancient coffee machine finally gave up the ghost with a pathetic wheeze and a puff of smoke that smelled suspiciously like his career prospects. The machine had been with him through 3 promotions and 2 divorces. Now it was gone, leaving him caffeine-deprived and emotionally wounded at 0600 hours. The universe, not content with this singular cruelty, ensured his shower ran ice cold. Not the invigorating cold that wellness influencers raved about, but the bone-chilling cold that made a man question his life choices and possibly the laws of thermodynamics. Perfect. Just perfect, Jack muttered, shivering as he attempted to put on his uniform. The fabric caught on his watch, and with a satisfying rip that could only happen on a day like today, a tear formed right across the chest pocket. Spectacular. Jack's communicator chirped. It was his ex, Melissa. Her beaming face appeared on the screen, showing off an engagement ring that could probably be seen from space. The message was simple. Thought you should hear it from me first, which was nice, considering they'd only been separated for 3 months. Congratulations, Jack said to his empty apartment. So glad you found happiness with Todd from accounting while I'm still finding your hair in my shower drain. He was halfway through his commute to Space Command when his boss called. Reynolds? Where the hell are you? On my way, sir. Had some domestic issues this morning. Well, get here faster. The Galdornian Federation just entered Earth's orbit unannounced. They're demanding immediate diplomatic talks. Jack nearly crashed his hover car. The who? First contact, Reynolds. Apparently they've been watching us for decades. Ambassadors already here with their delegation. Everyone else is at the Geneva conference, so you're up. Sir, I'm not a diplomat. I handle logistics for the lunar colonies. You've got the highest security clearance available on base right now. Besides, how hard can it be? Just smile, shake whatever they have for hands, and don't start an interstellar war. The call ended before Jack could protest further. He glanced down at his torn uniform, felt his caffeine headache pulsing behind his eyes, and thought about Melissa and Todd from accounting. Don't start an interstellar war, he repeated bitterly. No promises today, sir. When Jack arrived at Space Command, he was immediately ushered into the hastily prepared diplomatic chamber. No briefing, no coffee, and definitely no time to fix his uniform. His security badge was crooked, his hair still damp, and the beginning of a stress twitch had developed under his left eye. A junior officer whispered as they speed-walked down the corridor. They've been waiting for 20 minutes. The Secretary General is patched in virtually from Geneva. Just follow protocol, and you'll be fine. What protocol? Jack hissed. The How to Meet Aliens for the First Time protocol. You must have missed that memo. Just be diplomatic, the officer offered unhelpfully before opening the chamber doors and practically shoving Jack inside. The diplomatic chamber fell silent as Jack stumbled in. 7 beings stood on the opposite side of the room, their bodies tall and slender with iridescent skin that shifted colors like oil on water. Their eyes, all 4 of them per alien, blinked in unsettling unison. Commander Reynolds announced the Secretary General's floating hologram head, looking equally surprised and disappointed at Jack's appearance. How kind of you to join us. May I present Ambassador Krelox of the Galdornian Federation? The tallest alien stepped forward. Its skin rippled from blue to purple as it extended a limb with too many joints. The Galdornian Federation extends greetings to Earth, the translator device chirped. We have observed your development for 73 of your years and have determined that you are now suitable for limited contact. Jack stared at the limb before remembering he was supposed to shake it. The alien's skin felt like wet rubber, and Jack fought the urge to wipe his hand on his pants afterward. Yeah, hi, thanks for dropping by unannounced, Jack said, the headache now throbbing against his temples. Always nice to have visitors from space. Yes. Ambassador Krelox's color shifted to a deep orange. The other aliens murmured among themselves, their translators off. We have followed proper protocol by announcing our arrival to your planetary defense grid, Krelox stated. Your automated systems granted permission. Jack made a mental note to fire everyone in planetary defense. Right. Of course they did. We wish to establish formal diplomatic relations between our civilizations, continued Krelox. Though we understand if your species requires time to acclimate to the concept of superior beings. The word superior hit Jack like a bucket of that cold shower water. I'm sorry, what was that? Jack asked, his eye twitch intensifying. The Secretary General's hologram widened its eyes in warning. It is merely an observation, Krelox continued, oblivious to the shift in Jack's demeanor. Your primitive technology, while charming, indicates you are at least 3 centuries behind the galactic standard. Your propulsion systems alone are what we would consider children's toys. Something inside Jack, possibly his last nerve, snapped with an almost audible twang. Listen here, Ambassador Kree, whatever. I've had a hell of a morning. My coffee machine died, my shower was freezing, my uniform is torn, and my ex just got engaged to Todd from accounting. Todd, who alphabetizes his protein bars and laughs like a dolphin on helium. The alien's colors all shifted to a pale yellow. So excuse me if I'm not thrilled about being called primitive by a bunch of walking mood rings who didn't even have the courtesy to call ahead properly. Commander Reynolds. The Secretary General's hologram sputtered. But Jack was on a roll. You know what? Here's Earth's position. You can either treat us with respect, or you can turn your superior ships around and go back to wherever you came from. And if you choose the second option, you should know that humans don't take kindly to being looked down on. We've got a history of being underestimated, and it never ends well for the other guy. Jack crossed his arms, his caffeine headache pounding like a war drum. The diplomatic chamber fell silent. The aliens' colors had drained to an alarming white. Their 4 eyes were opened so wide they looked in danger of falling out. Finally, Ambassador Krelox spoke, its voice notably higher through the translator. We apologize for any offense. The Galdornian Federation wishes only for peaceful relations with Earth. That's more like it. Jack nodded, surprised by the sudden shift. Perhaps, continued the ambassador, we should reconvene after a suitable rest period. We will prepare more appropriate offerings and terms. Fine by me, Jack shrugged. Next time, bring coffee. As the aliens hastily backed away, bowing repeatedly, Jack couldn't help but notice they seemed afraid. The Secretary General's hologram was giving him a look that suggested his career might be shorter than his marriage to Melissa. And news of the human diplomat's terrifying display spread across the galaxy faster than light which, contrary to Earth physics, it was entirely possible with Galdornian quantum communications. Within days, 7 major galactic civilizations had convened an emergency council. Ambassador Krelox's report was the main agenda item, and excerpts from the diplomatic transcript were projected for all to see. The humans showed all signs of dominance posturing, Krelox explained to the assembled representatives. No fear response, direct eye contact, aggressive stance, and most alarmingly, casual reference to potential violence. A reptilian delegate from the Escalate Confederacy hissed in concern. And you say their planetary defenses were undetectable? Completely confirmed Krelox, which can only mean technology far beyond our scanning capabilities. What the galactic community failed to understand was the concept of having a bad day. In Galdornian culture, diplomats underwent 40 years of emotional regulation training. The idea that someone would be selected for a diplomatic mission while emotionally compromised was inconceivable unless that emotional state was a deliberate power move. Ambassador Krelox replayed the encounter in his mind. The human had entered with battle damage to his uniform, clearly a symbol of surviving previous conflicts. He had mentioned the death of a coffee machine, which must be some kind of AI assistant, with complete indifference. His reference to cold water torture that morning demonstrated his resilience. And most chilling of all, he spoke of an ex and Todd from accounting, who had betrayed him, yet he still functioned normally, suggesting humans could maintain cognitive operations even when part of their collective was severed. In Galdornian history, Krelox explained to the council, only our most legendary warriors would dare speak so boldly to a new species. The last time a diplomat used such tactics was before the annihilation of the Vextor system. The council chamber erupted in alarmed clicks, whistles, and pheromone releases. "There's more," added Krelox grimly. "Before we departed, the human demanded we bring coffee next time, a substance we've now identified as a psychoactive stimulant that humans consume daily. They function under continuous chemical enhancement." The escalate representatives' scales paled. They drug themselves for negotiations, routinely. Precisely. And this Commander Reynolds was suffering withdrawal, yet still fully operational and more aggressive. Imagine their capabilities when properly stimulated. By the end of the emergency council, a new interspecies protocol had been established. Human emotional state assessment became mandatory before any diplomatic engagement. 17 research vessels were dispatched to observe Earth from a safe distance, cataloging human behavioral patterns and emotional indicators. What they observed only confirmed their fears. Humans experienced wild emotional swings, communicated through aggressive physical contact, which they called high fives and handshakes, and routinely engaged in recreational activities that simulated warfare. They exposed themselves to temperature extremes for pleasure, ingested toxic substances for entertainment, and willingly deprived themselves of sleep to watch moving images. "They're magnificent predators," concluded the chief xenopsychologist, disguised as diplomats. 6 months after what Earth historians would later call the Reynolds incident, Commander Jack Reynolds found himself in a very different position. Instead of managing lunar colony supply chains, he now held the title of Special Diplomatic Liaison to Extraterrestrial Civilizations. He still had no idea why. Oh, there had been commendations and vague mentions of establishing a strong initial position and projecting Earth's diplomatic presence effectively, but nobody actually explained what he'd done right. The Secretary General had gone from looking like she wanted to fire him out of an airlock to treating him like he'd single-handedly secured Earth's galactic future. Even more bewildering were the new protocols when meeting with alien delegations. Commander Reynolds, a nervous aide, approached him before his third scheduled meeting with the Galdornians. "How would you rate your current mood on the standardized scale?" Jack stared at the offered tablet, which displayed a row of cartoon faces ranging from ecstatic to murderous. Somewhere in the middle. Neutral, I guess." The aide's face fell. "Oh dear. Perhaps you'd like a moment in the relaxation chamber before the meeting? The Galdornians have provided it specifically for human diplomatic personnel." "The what now?" Jack found himself ushered into a room that looked like a cross between a luxury spa and a kindergarten classroom. Soft music played. A fountain bubbled. Snacks covered every surface, including, he noted with surprise, an extraordinarily expensive coffee machine that made his old one look like a hot plate with delusions of grandeur. "Please help yourself to anything," the aide insisted. "The delegates will wait until you're optimally composed." Similar scenarios played out across every human-alien interaction. Alien representatives insisted on scanning humans with strange devices before beginning conversations. Diplomatic gift packages now routinely included stress balls, scented candles, and what appeared to be alien versions of teddy bears. One particularly thoughtful civilization provided sound-canceling booths labeled human decompression chambers at every meeting. Most baffling of all, Jack noticed that whenever he showed the slightest sign of irritation, a sigh, a frown, even drumming his fingers on the table, alien diplomats immediately made concessions. During trade negotiations with the Proxima Coalition, Jack had sneezed, and they'd immediately offered Earth-exclusive mining rights to 3 asteroid belts. When meeting with the Escalate Confederacy about military boundaries, he'd checked his watch, and they'd volunteered to move their patrol routes 10 light-years farther from Earth space. "I don't get it," Jack confessed to Admiral Chen, his new supervisor. "They're treating us like we're made of nitroglycerine." "Don't question success, Reynolds," the Admiral replied, reviewing the latest round of impossibly favorable treaties. "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." The truth finally came to light during the Galactic Economic Summit on Europa. Jack had stepped away to use the restroom, a surprisingly complex affair given the diversity of species and their biological needs, when he overheard voices from the adjacent diplomatic lounge. "Absolutely terrifying. came Ambassador Krelox's translated voice. The human Reynolds just asked for a stronger coffee. Should we be concerned? Most concerning, agreed another voice Jack didn't recognize. My emotional analysis indicates a 7% increase in his blink rate, with possible agitation developing. The last time he showed agitation, he threatened the annihilation of 3 star systems. Jack froze, hand hovering over the sync controls. What now? Not explicitly, Krelox clarified, but the subtext was unmistakable. Humans don't take kindly to being looked down on, and it never ends well for the other guy. Classic planet killer rhetoric. Jack had to clamp a hand over his mouth to prevent an inappropriate laugh. My species has analyzed their historical records, added a third voice. These humans regularly engage in global conflicts over resources, as trivial as shiny metals or fermented beverages. They've nearly destroyed their own planet multiple times, and they refer to those periods as the good old days. And yet, Krelox said with what sounded like horrified admiration, they selected their most volatile diplomat for first contact. The message couldn't be clearer. Jack leaned against the wall as realization dawned. They thought he was dangerous. They thought humans had deliberately sent someone having a terrible day as a show of strength. Every grumpy comment, every caffeine-deprived scowl had been interpreted as a power move by species who apparently didn't have bad days. And Earth had been reaping the benefits. As he returned to the summit, Jack's mind raced with possibilities. Tomorrow he was scheduled to meet with representatives from Galaxy Corp, a massive interstellar conglomerate known for exploiting newly contacted worlds. Earth's legal team had been worried about protecting human interests against such an established entity. Now Jack had a plan. That evening he called Admiral Chen. I need you to remove all the comfort items from tomorrow's meeting room, and I'm going to need the worst coffee you can find. Jack arrived at the Galaxy Corp negotiation looking like he'd wrestled a black hole and lost. Dark circles under his eyes. Hair uncombed, he'd accidentally spilled bad coffee on his uniform and skipped breakfast. The Galaxy Corp representatives, sleek, corporate aliens with exosuits worth more than most Earth buildings, physically recoiled when he entered the room. Is the human well? One whispered to a Galdornian observer. The emotional scan indicates extreme agitation potential. The observer replied urgently. Recommend maximum appeasement protocol. Jack slammed his coffee mug down harder than necessary. Let's get this over with. I've got a headache the size of Jupiter. What followed was the most one-sided corporate negotiation in Earth's history. Galaxy Corp representatives tripped over themselves offering Earth favorable terms. Technology sharing? Of course. Protective tariffs for developing Earth industries? Absolutely. A 70-year non-competition clause for human innovations. They insisted on it. Bob. By the time Jack checked his watch and muttered, finally, Galaxy Corp had essentially handed Earth everything it wanted, and several things its negotiators hadn't even thought to ask for. As news of Earth's unprecedented success spread through diplomatic channels, Jack discovered he wasn't the only human who had figured out the trick. Reports came in of human diplomats across the galaxy having bad days at strategically important moments. The Earth Diplomatic Corps quietly developed a new training program, tactical irritability and strategic mood deployment. Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council, a mild-mannered woman who'd once taught kindergarten, secured 3 seats on the ruling body by simply sighing heavily during budget discussions. A junior diplomat won Earth rights to a disputed star system by mentioning his fantasy sports team had lost. The galaxy continued to walk on eggshells around these unpredictable humans, who could apparently transition from delightful companions to terrifying negotiators in the time it took for a coffee machine to break. And Commander Jack Reynolds? He received another promotion, of course. His new office came equipped with the galaxy's most advanced coffee machine, which could produce any caffeinated beverage known to 17 civilizations, a gift from a very nervous Galdornian Federation. The machine never broke down. Jack almost missed having an excuse for a bad day. Almost. As he sipped the perfect coffee and reviewed the latest ridiculously favorable trade agreement, Jack reflected on how the greatest misunderstanding in diplomatic history had become Earth's greatest advantage, all because he'd had a really bad day. Somewhere across the galaxy, diplomatic academies now taught an essential lesson to all new xenopolitical students. Before engaging with humans, always check if they're having a bad day. And always bring coffee.